You're listening to Prosperity Report, Love and Money Podcast. I'm your host, Kanae Corder, best-selling author, international speaker, and clinical hypnotherapist specializing in financial therapy. Each week, we'll bring you actionable ideas, tips, tools, and resources to help you get the mindset shift you need to feel more confident personally and financially, so you can reduce stress, work less, and make a huge impact on your world and your income. Now, let's get into today's show. Are you feeling stressed? Do you find yourself doing the same thing, expecting a different result? Well, that's why you're stressed. That's what's causing your stress. Our habits can create stress or confidence in our lives. What are your habits causing you to feel right now? Think about it. If your service-based business is causing you stress, join our confidence coaching community today so you can get the guidance you need to adjust your habits, reduce stress, and remove the blocks to success. In the confident coaching community, we will help you feel more confident personally and financially by giving you the tools to create multiple streams of predictable, repeatable income. So join the confidence coaching community and start feeling more confident today. Go to KanaeCorder.com/community. That's KanaeCorder.com/community. Now, why do I bring that up? You might be asking. So this episode is brought to you by our confidence coaching community. But this episode is all about recession-proofing your life. And one of the ways that you can recession-proof your life is to be part of a community of people just like you that can help guide you through all the business decisions you're going to have to make that get even heavier during a recession. So I don't know if you know this. If you know my story, then you know that I started my business, Presidential Lifestyle, during a recession. If you remember the 2007 real estate market crash, and then right around the end of 2008, the stock market and bond markets were crashing. By 2009, when I was starting this business, so many different businesses were going out of business, that people were losing their retirement. They were losing there was a lot going on. And what I had to tell myself, as you may have heard me say, is that the business failed, you didn't. So I was closing one business and starting another one. And I realized that this is the most difficult time to start a business. It is just as difficult to maintain a business. But what else I realized is that if you can start a business during a recession, then, oh my gosh, you can run the business during the recession and you can overcome anything. Today, I want to share with you 10, but it might end up being 12, but I do have 10. I feel like some more are inside of me that might come out that I didn't even plan for. So I want to share with you how to recession-proof your business and your life. And I want to do that by giving you some tips and some tools. It won't be as many resources as I typically give, because a lot of this is you being resourceful, you figuring out what's available to you, because what's available right now may not even be available in just a few months. And so, let's be clear. The reason why I'm doing this episode is because I do believe a recession is coming. I don't really believe it's coming. I believe we're already in the beginning of it. And so many different signs show. The last recession, I had blinders on. I didn't know. But I experienced it. I was in it. So now I do know, and I can see the signs. And I remember the 2001-ish recession. And I remember that really being over my head because I was in the entertainment industry and I wasn't really looking at business like that so much. I mean, I had a business. I owned a business. This is when I was in the beauty business. But you don't really have to recession-proof your business in the beauty business. Not really. But I have a lot of listeners who own salons and barbershops and businesses like that that could be considered luxury. But for depending on your target market, Like if you have a target market that absolutely has to keep their hair done, then they're going to continue to get haircuts. They're going to continue to get whatever color. I've gone gray now, so I don't have to worry about color. But when I wasn't, it was like an every 6-week thing, and it eventually became like an every month thing. So I might look for somebody who's less, cheaper, but I'm getting it done. So alcohol, same thing. Cigarettes, same thing. Those businesses don't have to recession-proof their businesses. But for most of us, we do. And so today I want us to talk about that because it's important that we know, first of all, if we're in the type of business that we need to protect our business and make shifts during something like a recession. The other thing we want to kind of take note of is some of these things will apply to you. Some of these things will not, right? Especially if I start talking specifically about investments and you don't own any of these, then you won't have to really worry. Because one of the things I noticed when I was a financial advisor is that people would call me and say ridiculous things like, oh my gosh, let's just say they said gold is down. Gold is down. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, first of all, you don't own any gold. So why are you calling me with this? And yes, somebody out there is going to say, oh, well, the dollar was backed by gold and it's going to affect everything else and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, all of that. But you are more concerned with something you don't even have or own because somebody else told you you should be upset. So don't let me tell you that you should be upset about something because that is not what this episode is about. This episode is about reducing your stress, not increasing it. So I'm not having this conversation with you because I want you to be all worried and stressed out. I'm having this conversation with you because I'd like for you to just take notice of where you may be vulnerable, take notice of where you may have some blind spots, and allow yourself to put some systems in place, some safeguards in place that may protect you if anything happens. Now, you've heard me say that the money cycle is earn, grow, protect, gift, and enjoy your money. Today is more of the protect. We're talking about protecting. And recession proofing is basically me saying protecting your business and your life during a recession. So you're ready to do that. None of these are in order. So you could number them if you want to, but you don't necessarily have to do this in any certain order. And I'm not giving it to you in any certain order. But the first thing that comes up for me, and I should mention that most of these things are things that I'm doing myself. And that's why they're on the list, because this is what I'm doing. And I said, well, hey, let me share it because somebody else might need this. Now, you don't have to do all these things, like I said before, but at least consider them. And then you might also want to pass this episode on to somebody who you know that might be experiencing this as well, which is everybody. So pass this on to everybody you know. Thank you. One of the things that I did, and honestly, this just kind of happened by design. I didn't plan for this, but I've been saying that there's going to be a recession. I've been saying that for about a year. Let's get prepared. Let's get ready for the recession that's coming in 12 to 18 months. That's what I was saying a year ago. And it's here. We're down to like maybe it's happening in the next 1 to 3 months now. And accidentally, and when I say accidentally, I mean, as part of my strategy, I was moving money and I got quite a bit of it in cash. So a good portion of my investments are in cash right now. Now, that's not something I recommend. I don't recommend going to cash to hedge the market to say, oh, well, let me get all out. I would say you would probably have more cash than you normally would. So if your allocation, let's just say, had 2% or 3% cash in it, you may want to raise that to 10% or whatever number you decide. You and your financial advisor decide. Because remember, this podcast is not financial advice. This is a discussion that we're having so you can understand some of your options. But I would say that I'm going more into cash than I normally would. And that just happened because I'm putting some things in place right now. And so just so you know what I'm putting in place, I'm going to talk about in just a second, but it's around digital currency. So you may go to cash a little bit more than you would in a recession or getting close to a recession, because once you get in a recession, you do not want to be in cash because that's when everything is low. And that means it's on sale. And since when is a sale bad? Never. So think about prior to, if you want to have a little bit more cash, that might be an option for you. And then looking at once things hit kind of rock bottom, and you won't know when it hits its bottom, you won't know. So don't try to time it, but just get back in at some point if you do go to cash. But that's just an option. That's just something I want to bring up. And the reason why I'm bringing it up, because that's what I'm doing. The other thing that I'm doing is looking at alternative investments. So we talk a lot about stocks and bonds, but that's not it. That's not the hokey pokey, as I heard someone say once. That's not what it's all about. Stocks and bonds are not the only thing out there. They're just the most talked about. They're like the favorite kid or whatever. So stocks and bonds can do a lot for you, especially during when things are going well, but they're not everything when things are not going well. You definitely want to be diversified. So when I say look at alternative investments, what I really am saying is make sure you're diversified. And so even though you may be more in cash, you still want to make sure that your other areas of your allocation are diverse. So that may mean you still do have some stocks. You still do have some bonds. And normally the people that I'm talking to don't own individual stocks, may not even own individual bonds, but may own a mutual fund or an ETF. Now, these days, mutual funds are shunned at and not a lot of people are using them as much. But like in something like your 401k, you may not even have a choice. You got to use what your employer provided for you. So you're going to have to pick some funds. And you may, in your 401k or in your retirement account, whatever it is, still use this whole strategy where you have more cash than you normally would, and you may have more alternatives. Right now, I'm leaning towards precious metals, gold, silver. Those are the alternative investments. Real estate would be considered an alternative investment. And I work with a company that allows me to have a self-directed IRA, and I can hold pretty much any alternative investment I want to hold in there, whether it's precious metals, whether it's real estate, whether it's private equity. If I want to own a piece of your business, I can do that in my IRA or my 401k. Actually, I have an IRA, but I also have a 401k. So I can do that in my account. Now, the other thing that aside from these being in my account, I can also hold the actual precious metal, like actual gold and actual silver. Now that's high level. I'm not going to lie. I haven't gone that far. I have a little bit, but I don't have much. I have clients who have more because that's high level to actually buy gold and buy silver. And how do you store it? I do have a safe in my house, and that's something else. To recession proof your life, one of the other options is to have a safe that you put some cash in. I forgot to say that earlier. So I have a fireproof safe. That's where I hold all the important papers that we do not want to burn, like keys that we want to hold on to that are super important. Like maybe if you have a safety deposit box, my passport and birth certificate and all of that stuff is in the fireproof safe. That's a recommendation. I've had it since maybe 2004. I've had it a long time. When I first started working in this industry, that's when I got wind that was a good idea. And so that's what I did. And it's the one thing that I've taken with me everywhere I've gone since I got it. And I've lived a lot of places. You know, I live the laptop lifestyle, so I move around a lot. But the safe comes with me. And so that brings me to digital currency. We're going to have someone come on to talk more about digital currency. One of the most popular ones is Bitcoin. You've probably been hearing a lot about Bitcoin. And right now, one of the questions that we get a lot, because I work closely with this client who's going to come on and talk to you guys. I work closely with her and her company. And one of the questions we get a lot is it too late? Like Bitcoin is so high, is it too late? And believe it or not, the experts are saying it's not too late, that you might as well go ahead and get in. You might just have a little, you may own a portion, but at least you're in, right? And now maybe some of you remember 2001 and maybe you remember 2008 and you maybe feel like you missed out. So this digital currency is kind of that next level. It's kind of the tech boom of right now. You don't want to miss out. You don't have to own a lot of it, but just participate. And I'm going to tell my digital currency story and how I got involved, but I don't own much. It's a very small part of what I consider my portfolio, but it's there and I own a certain amount, you know, and a couple thousand, but it's not a big part of my portfolio. But I want to participate. I want to be part of it. Plus I have a client that works in it, and you know me, I support my clients. If they have something, then, you know, I make sure I'm a part of that. So I also, you know, speak and do events where people ask me questions, and I don't want to say, oh, I am not part of that or I haven't participated. I want to be able to answer those questions, but I want to answer from a participation place. Like I've been there, I've done that. And this is what happened for me. Now, I don't ever want to answer blanket like this is law, because there are no laws in finance. Oh my gosh. Okay. So you know what I mean by that. Yes, there's governance and compliance and all of that. But I'm saying nothing is concrete. It's ever shifting, ever changing, and you need to change with it. I'm sure over your time, you've seen some changes in this financial industry, the markets. Well, just imagine, like, my grandmother passed away when she was about 85, and she saw so much happen. She was born during the Great Depression. And so you are experiencing this right now. You're seeing things happen, develop, be a part of it. Don't stand on the outside. So some of the other things that you can do when we talk about the digital currency, I'm going to tell you about hard wallets, because there's two ways that you can hold your digital currency. You know how I just said you're going to have some cash in the bank or in your investment account, and then you want to have some cash at home. Well, digital currency is similar. Like, you will hold your digital currency at an exchange, or you can pull it off of there and put it on a hard wallet that you own your private keys yourself. So that's the process that I'm in right now. And I own a couple of different coins. I'll say later on the next episode which ones those are. And I'm not saying that so you can go out and buy them. I'm just telling you so you know what I have. And then I want to move on from there. So I want you to do this thing that's normal, and that's have savings. 3 to 6 months is what all the people say. Where they are, though, is the difference. And so most people are saying put your 3 to 6 months in cash, which is not my recommendation when it comes to savings. I say 1 month in cash, and the other 3 or 5 or whatever months you want to have invested, but in a way that you can pull them out within 30 days. So that it's not like a fire sale. Because if you have 1 month, like if an emergency happens, then 1 month of savings is really all you need to make it through that emergency while you do your sale and get the rest of that money moving. And that way you don't have to move it all at once. You really would just need it 1 month at a time. So it could be making money for you. So that's my strategy. That's what I recommend for my clients to do. So you still want to keep a hold to that. Have savings. If you haven't already started saving, start saving. Sure, I did say the recession is just a few months away, even weeks, but why not? Even if you have a couple $100, that's better than no dollars. Trust me, it is. I'd also say paying off your debt, getting as low on your debt as you can, because that payment might be the thing that hurts you in a recession. So getting that paid down as much as possible, even if you have to do some negotiating, some consolidating, some balance transfers, that kind of thing. Get that interest down, even make some phone calls to your credit card company, asking them to lower the interest rate. Some of them will do it. Just call and ask. And also ask if they have balance transfers, because some of them will have like a 0% balance transfer. Now, you may have to pay a fee, of course, but pay that fee and then you don't have to pay the interest. So I talked about debt, and I want to make sure I talk about your expenses, keeping your expenses low overall. So that debt payment is going to help you, getting that debt payment gone is going to help you lower expenses. But I say go lean. These examples that I'm giving you, you can use for your business and your life. So in my 401k, that's what I have in my business. I'm using that same strategy for my 401k that I'm using for my IRA as an individual. This 3 to 6 months of savings, I'm doing that personally, but also for the business. And then keeping my expenses low. I run a lean ship at Presidential Lifestyle, and especially at Kanae Inc. Let me tell you, I'm so lean in my personal life. Not a lot of fluff. And I don't really consider myself a minimalist, but I'm really close. Because there's still some luxury items that I like to have. You probably heard me talk about like expensive chocolate that I eat every once in a while, but I may eat less now. So, but keeping your expenses low, really looking at that, downsizing even if you need to, because downsizing is not a bad thing. It actually is fundamental. You need to do it sometimes, unless you have recession-proof your life and your business so much that downsizing it doesn't have to happen for you because you're already running a lean system. Then don't worry about downsizing, but that can also be very helpful. I've downsized a couple times in my life, and every single time I do it, it feels really good. It feels really good to me. If you got my book, The Art of Starting Over, that may be helpful for helping you start your mindset over during this time. So I'm talking money today. The art of starting over is around the mindset that goes along with the money. So as you downsize, as you lower your expenses, one of the things you may need to do in your business, not right now, but when the recession gets underway, is lower your prices because you want to keep your business going. And sometimes that might mean lowering your prices. And let me tell you why. That's going to bring me to this next point. I think we're like on 7 now. So pour into your lifers or your prosperos or your, Chalene Johnson calls her people lifers. I call my people prosperos. You may call your tribe something else. Pour into them because you don't want them to go anywhere during the recession. You want to show them you care. You guys are connected. So pour into them prior to so that they are there when you need them. And that's why I say you may need to lower your prices or do some sort of special offer for them. Support system. This is another thing you want to do. So when I talked about downsizing, that might mean that you and somebody else kind of combined. You may do some more collaborations in your business than you have before. You may share office space with someone. You may even get a roommate in your personal life. You may take on a second job. You may also take on a client that you probably don't usually want to take on. Now, that one I don't recommend highly. That's like a last case, worst case scenario kind of thing. Don't go too far out of your target market. Don't go too far out of your idea of prosperity, but you may have to make some sacrifices. So if you do something or take on a client that is not your ideal client, then I want to make sure that you have an ending date for that. You put a time frame on it because it may burn you out. And this is not about getting you stressed out. Remember, this is about helping you prepare or relieve stress now, because if you prepare for the worst, then you have nothing to stress about. That's what I love about preparation, because I recorded a 5-minute activation before. I talked about planning and preparing. You prepare for the things that you can't control, right? That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about preparing. You can't control this recession. You don't even know when the heck it's going to happen. So you prepare for it. And then planning is the stuff that you do control, that you do know is going to happen. So you plan for those things. Those are the kind of systems that you want to put in place. But having a support system, like real actual people, your community. Some people will say you also want to have like an emergency kit, like water and tuna, like a couple little canned food dishes. If this recession is so bad that like grocery stores are empty, or we don't know. You don't know how bad it could be. We don't know. They say it's going to be really bad. Like they call the last one the Great Recession. And they say this one might be as bad as the Great Depression, which I felt like the other one was. It was so painful and it was so long, and I didn't even want to participate in it. I did not, but somehow I still was part of it because my clients were part of it. And so we don't know what this one is calling for. So you want to make sure you have some emergency stuff on hand too. That might be rice if the stove is working, because some people are like planning for a disaster, like the Walking Dead type situations. So some people may say you want to have firearm. I don't know about that. I don't own one yet, but I've been told that I need to get it. So it's on my list of things to do. So you may want to do that. That wasn't on my list, that firearm thing. I told you some things were going to pop out that I didn't know would be there. The other thing I really, 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 really want you to do, really, is track, analyze, track. Now, I am not a data person at all. Some people love data. I appreciate data, but I'm not like warm and fuzzy over data. But this is the time when you really need to do that. You really need to get down into your numbers, know what's working, what's going well, and what's not. You need to trim it. This is how you lower those expenses, how you really go lean, is to track. Just keep tracking and analyzing and shifting your operations so that you can make it through this, because your business does not have to fail because it's a recession. Your business does not have to fail. In fact, you could thrive during a recession. I do want you to understand this. I'm not saying that this is doom and gloom. I'm saying prepare just in case. What happens if you're the only one during this preparation? All your other competition goes away and everybody comes to you. Wow. Imagine that. Like actually visualize that. And I'm not saying wish anything bad on anybody, But just imagine that happened and you get all the customers. That could happen during a recession. So just be ready for whatever. I think the last thing that I want to bring up is insurance. One of the things that people want to cut when the money starts getting tight is insurance. And I recommend you don't do that. Have your insurance, because when a recession comes and if your money is low, especially if you lose a job or something like that, or you have to close your business, then if a catastrophic event happens, you can't afford it. That's why you need the insurance. You can't afford a catastrophic event during a recession. So you need your insurance. Some people don't like insurance. I've seen it do great things. I've had clients of mine who have utilized it in a way that have helped them and their children survive really long lawsuits. And like, insurance has its place, and sometimes it doesn't work for us, but sometimes it does. So I would say that. Now, right now, I want to search my spirit to see if there's anything else out there that I didn't talk about that I really want to make sure you remember during this recession. I don't think there is. I think that I named all the things. And if there is, I'll drop it in the show notes if it comes up later. But I like to hear from you. I don't ask this a lot, but if you have questions, I do want you to go to the show notes and click this little form that I'm going to put in the show notes. And this form is going to get your questions if you have any. So go ahead and go to the show notes. Click where I say got questions, and then that got questions form is going to pop up and you'll put your question in there. And then we may even answer it here on the podcast. We'll definitely reply to you with the answers to these questions. So that is my show for today. I am so glad to hang out with you guys. I can't wait to see you guys next week. In the meantime, start to recession proof your life and your business. Start doing some of these things that I talked about, and stop doing anything that's with excess. Stop living excessively right now. Now, that's good advice, whether it's a recession or not, because when we live in excess, we're usually not paying attention to the things that really matter. So get down and start figuring out what really matters to you. Actually, that is another tip. See, I told you some things are going to jump out. Really start to make a list of the things that really, really matter to you. Get clear on that. It's such an awesome way to live when you're clear on what really matters to you. All right. Well, I gotta go now, but I'll see you in the club. Have a prosperous day, my Prospros. Do you ever wonder if your brain is secretly plotting against you? The truth is, it is. Your brain is full of negative messages and programs. These negative messages block you from success and cause stress. And right now, whether you know it or not, your brain is standing in the way of your success, the success you were meant to have. Over my years of clinical practice, I've created a system that helps uncover the counterproductive brain habits imprinted by society. If your business has not reached the level of success you would like it to, it's time to take action. Join me and one powerful group of achievers in my coaching community. It's the tribe for people who want to get guidance and connection so they can be in business for themselves, but not by themselves. Go to KeneCorder.com/community. Get the guidance and connection you need to take your business to the next level. Go to KeneCorder.com/community. Hey guys, thanks for listening. If you want more love and money conversations, subscribe to this podcast. Also, tell your friends about us. I'll see you next episode. But in the meantime, head on over to KeneCorder.com for more tips, tools, and resources. And go ahead and leave us a comment if you like. We'd love to hear from you. This show is not to replace professional counsel. The best advice comes from a professional you know. The topics discussed in this podcast are general in nature and are for entertainment and informational purposes only. We encourage you to meet with a professional to discuss your specific situation, whether financial or therapeutic. That's all for now. I'll see you sooner. Remember, no matter what anybody ever tells you, you can have wealth in all of its forms. Believe it, and you will soon see it.